Transition to the roster right now. Goalie situation has kind of been in flux all season long, but concussions, you never know exactly how long it's going to take. It's different on each individual time.
And with a goalie, you never know till they take one off the mask.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But where are we with Makarov? Because Strang has been let go. That would indicate to me that Makarov is pretty close to playing.
He's supposed to be back at practice full tilt tomorrow.
Okay, so what does he add? And is he the guy on the net? Because Meister's played pretty well at times.
At times.
At times.
That's the thing, at times.
That could be the whole season.
Makarov's played really good at times.
That could, I was going to say that's the whole season in a microcosm because guys have played well at times.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, that's the biggest problem. What's the most consistent thing the Komets do besides penalty kill?
Being inconsistent?
They play to the level of their opponents, which is ridiculous. It's a farce, especially at home. They have got to find a way to fight through this crap, and it is crap. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's no way they should have played that poorly Friday night against Elmira. You know, they played really well Wednesday night, just didn't score. Well, they had 15 shots that went high and wide by 5 to 10 feet. You know, I mean, there's no excuse for this. This is not new. You know, they know it. They need to focus on it, and it really becomes a question of individual pride. It really does.
Yeah, individually, though, you're saying Makarov back in practice on Tuesday, which would lead you to believe he's going to play at least one of these 3 games in Elmira this weekend?
For sure.
Okay, so that's a good news for the Komets fans. Although Max Strang had something, people liked him a lot during camp. He's really not a bad third option if you can pick him up. I want to talk about this coming trip to Elmira in terms of how frequently teams are playing each other within like a 1 to 2 week span, because the Komets right now are going to be playing Elmira in a stretch of 6 games 5 times.
They just came off of one like that.
Just came off of one where they played Kalamazoo 4 times in 5 games. Familiarity breeds contempt. People say that all the time. But how much does it affect a team when they're going a week or a week and a half basically playing just one opponent?
In the old days, you never would have dreamed of doing this because there would have been a brawl. There's no brawls anymore. I mean, there's not much physical play anymore. I've got a series coming up this week in the New Sentinel where I sit down with Kaylee Schrock and we talk about this, about why this is happening. And, you know, there's a lot of factors. I mean, there isn't that much physical play anymore, period, so there aren't leading to altercations, which can lead to bad blood. It's like, I don't know, it's just different.
Well, to kind of tease your story forward, what are some of the things that you and Kaylee talked about?
They're not being taught physical play at the lower levels, the younger levels as much anymore. The penalties are way detrimental to that. I mean, you know, you've got a instigator, which you didn't have 25 years ago. It's not as like it is now. You've got aggressors. You've got, if you start a fight in the last 5 minutes of a game, you get to sit out the next game. I mean, there's all this stuff that they've done to kind of take the physical nature out of the game. How many times this year have we seen penalties called on physical play that, you know, 10 years ago, that's just a clean hit, you know? And I get they're trying to protect the guys, and but they've gone way too far. You know, how many times have you seen hip checks that are good checks get called tripping no matter what because, hey, the ref's never seen it before? You know, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons like that. Part of it is guys don't have to fight anymore, so they don't. There'll be guys who go through their whole careers now never having fought, and they don't look at the fighters in some ways. A lot of them don't look at their fighters with respect as much as they used to anymore either. They don't look at it as, well, they're protecting me or creating ice space and that kind of thing. There are guys on the team and in the league that just like, that's a fighter. Anybody can fight. Any fool can fight.
Kind of like a punter or a kicker in football.
Yeah, kind of. And it's too bad. I mean, it's because the physical play, hockey's supposed to be about endurance and enduring hits and playing with bruises and things like that. It's a physical game. It's a collision game, a contact game, but it's not as much anymore.
Well, getting back to this past week, obviously 2 losses, not what you wanted to see, but a silver lining is some of the guys who were not on this roster at the beginning of the year are starting to put the puck in the net. Matt Carter had a goal on Friday. Nutkovich had a goal. His first in the Komets uniform was Carter's first in the Komets uniform. Mbach scored the lone goal up in Kalamazoo on Wednesday night.
Schock scored the long sprint shot.
Right. It was only his 3rd of the season, if I remember correctly. So some of these guys that haven't been scoring or are relatively new to this Komets roster are putting the puck in the back of the net. Does that give you some hope going forward that maybe there's more scoring on the horizon?
Not really, because
why not?
If you look at it this way, yeah, it was great that they scored. Love it, no problem. But are they consistent scoring threats? And they're not right now. There has not been consistent scoring threats from the third line or the second line, except for Mbach. Ouellette, when he first got here, was amazing, and then he's kind of slid off. Carter had some injury problems, and he's kind of picking it up. It's like, who's going to be consistent? Who's going to be, where you're a threat every night, every shift? You really need to see that. These are better players on paper than what they started the year with Mbach and Ouellette and Carter. They need to be more consistent. They need to be a solid second line type thing, and let's see it. You need guys to be more of a threat. Whether it's getting to a rebound, just firing, maybe to rebound to set up an opponent, a teammate. That's one thing the Komets are horrible at right now, is setting up their own teammates. Everybody fires high because that's where the goalies go down the butterfly. But sometimes the best play for the team is fire low on the ice, get a rebound off the pad where the defense can't find it right away, and the guy's there and pops it in. That's the better play for the team rather than just firing high and trying to hit the guy in the belly or the glove.
Well, and maybe, like we talked about with Shaffy, maybe some of that spacing.
Amen.
Being instead of right in the goalie's face.
Like right now, the power play I've noticed is you've got three forwards, they're all lined up across. Well, they're all the same. They're easy to cover. They need to mix it up. It's like they do a pretty good job of getting the puck in the zone, and then they pass it back and forth out top. Well, nobody's moving. They're just all lined up. It's like two guys can cover them easy, So they need to come up with some new ideas and some new awareness and some new techniques to try to create some energy on the power play.
A couple quick questions before we wrap it up. This has kind of been the pea under the mattress for Komets fans since the trade went down. I know we talked about last week that it looked like the player from Orlando was on the way to complete the Mickey Lang trade. We've only given away Mickey Lang for like a month now with nothing in return.
So
where are the Komets on that?
Well, I talked to David Franke today. He says they hope to have it finalized and the player on the way by the end of the week. Utah, they're looking at maybe next week, maybe. He said that the players that they were interested in were both hurt, and you don't want to trade for a guy who's hurt because what if it's a serious deal and then he ends up on your workers' comp forever? I don't know. They need to get it done. It's enough waiting, enough talking. They need to get it done.
Right.
Period.
And going forward, obviously, looking for more offense against them. Elmira is next to last in the conference right now, so you'd think 3 games at Elmira you could make some hay. But
I thought Friday night could have made some hay.
Well, this is true, and really, Kalamazoo is really not all that far in front of the Komets. These are very winnable games and very winnable opponents. But as far as Elmira goes, I know that you need to see some offense improve. And we talked about it off camera. Power play is what you're really looking forward to.
I'd like to just see the power play be a threat for 2 games in a row, or maybe 2 shifts in a row. So often the power play is like, oh, turn away. You don't want to see it because it's the same thing game after game. And it's like you brought in all these players supposedly to help the power play, and it's not working. They need a fundamental shift there.
What do you think they can do to make it better?
I think you can move the forwards off of the line for one thing.
There you go.
You got the forwards are all looking at the defenseman. Okay, what's he going to do? It makes it real easy for everybody else to look at the defenseman too and see what they're going to do. It's like move around a little, and it's either they have 2 things on the power play right now. They're behind the net passing it, or they're out top passing it. And it's like somebody's got to penetrate.
Maybe get it in there a little bit.
And I'd like to see some guys too. Like I said about talking about Shaffy, is like don't just get in the goalie's face. The rebounds are not there. The rebounds are 5 to 10 feet out. You need to be a little bit more aware of that too.
All right, so plenty to prove, but also some improvements hopefully on the way, especially in terms of what
they got to start moving up. Period. Enough of this treading water and we're better now. Well, you really got to step up and prove it, especially at home. Enough. There's no more excuses. It's either you do or you don't.
Right now, 10th in the division. If the playoffs started today, or 10th in the conference, I should say, it wouldn't be pretty.
No.
Wouldn't be pretty. All right, well, that's all for this week. He's Blake. I'm Glenn. We'll talk more Komets hockey next Monday here on Inside the Zone. But for Blake, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you then.